Happy New Year! For many of us, it feels so good to put 2020 behind us. And these past few days, the media, the news media, the social media, television, all the media outlets have been reflecting on 2020 and what it has meant and what it brought to our world and to our culture. And so I'm going to offer my own perspective here as to what I saw in 2020 as I look back. And the one word that described 2020 for me was anger. It was as if nature was angry. It slammed us with a pandemic, with fires, with hurricanes, with tornadoes, with a derecho, or I don't know, that was a new word for me. With all sorts of natural disasters seemed to hit our world during 2020. It seemed like Mother Nature was angry. It also seemed like all of humanity was angry. We saw protests. We saw violence. We saw great divisions between countries, between people within countries. We saw food lines and unemployment reached all-time highs. We saw so many things that made us angry, that divided us. It was a year marked with anger, and that anger drew a lot of fear, which is why we wanted it to be over. It got to be almost too much. Too much. There are not many times when I look at an ancient story and really feel that that story tells us about our world and what we need to do. And the story that I want to talk with you about today is the story of the three kings, the Magi. The story that many of us will hear this Sunday when we go to worship. And in this story, the Magi, or kings, and they're referred to differently and at different times, leave their home and journey together because they have recognized a sign in the sky. And they knew that this sign represented the birth of a king. That's how they read the sign. And so they journeyed together with their gifts. And on the way, they met Herod, who was a brutal, evil king. And he said to them, "When you return, let me know where this new king is, because I too want to worship him." And so they journeyed on and came to Bethlehem and saw this child laying in a manger in a very unsuspecting place for a king to be born. What could possibly come out of that would be any good? And so when they left, they recognized something. The epiphany, right? This awakening that they had by recognizing this king being born in an unsuspecting place, a humble place. They offered their gifts and they journeyed back via a different route because they knew that Herod had lied to them. This story is our story. This story is our story of 2020 and 2021. How we recognize ourselves in this story will vary from person to person. So here's my take. I see this journey of these three kings carrying this gift, their gifts, what they have to offer the new king. I see them journeying together through darkness, through evil territory, through Herod's brutal kingdom, and recognizing something new and offering what they have to offer, which is of great value, and leaving by a different route. I see us as moving into 2020 via a different route than we came through moving into 2021 via a different route than we moved in 2020. Making New Year's resolutions is a common thing. All of us do it. But what resolutions are we making for 2021? What was our epiphany, our awakening moment in 2020, where we knew that we had to go by a different route in 2021? For me, it was this sense that even though I have a very small voice, even though I live out in the woods of northern Wisconsin, even though by society's standards, I am a nobody with very little to offer, that I'm going to use the voice that I had and offer it anyway. Why? Because I don't like the division, and I don't like the anger. And I think there are so many ways in our world today that we can come together, that we can decide in our own mind what king we are going to serve. In Christian terms, we'd say, will we serve Christ the King of peace, the King that brings joy? And so I offer my little voice, which is my gift, to whomever wants to listen. But it is my gift. It is all I have, right? So I invite you to see what your great awakening, your epiphany was in 2020. What did you recognize? And what are you going to offer? What gift are you going to bring? And to which king are you going to offer that gift? How are you going to offer it? And for whose sake are you going to offer it? Because personally, I think that while we all journeyed together through 2020, and we can reflect on the route that we took, how are we going to journey together in 2021? That's the question that we are faced with today as we celebrate the end of 2021 that we so much looked for. And while we kept saying we want to return to normal, what is that normal? And maybe normal needs to be a different route. So I cast my blessings that I can offer to the world, to our nation, and to all my friends and my relatives. And may you have a peaceful and a blessed New Year.